Are we ready, guys? Steve Rude live stream, which I think serves a very important purpose. Based on the way I know people in life, we have very few friends, very few real friends. And I used to have a different social life than I do now. Vastly different. When I lived on campus in Madison in my early 20s, that's when Barron and I discovered Nexus. The college music scene was going on like crazy. And I was a part of all that stuff. And then the 90s came along and these image guys kind of just completely took over, whether their work was worth it or not. And everyone bought their comics. I'm sure some are still sitting around waiting to be sold for $1 million. A couple things I've done in my lifetime that have gotten me in real trouble. One is on Halloween night many years ago, there was a barking dog. The neighbors had a barking dog, and I was not happy with the barking dog. And so I called the cops. The neighbors called the cops on me. I got arrested. I went into court. The T-shirt that I had torn as I was grabbing this little midget's shirt for Halloween, and boy, he wasn't dressed up very well, got used as evidence against me. So the judge, this lady judge, decided that I owed them $15,000 for a ripped T-shirt. Things like this and other things like this have really caused an attitude in me that I really don't like the world I live in. Just yesterday, I was walking Flowhard, looking for bunnies, and I crossed this. I crossed one of the houses on the on the sidewalk, and it was the only place in the entire subdivision that was blasting music. Well, I don't happen to like people that blast music, and I was going to let it go, but then my conscience got the best of me. And okay, here goes. So I walked back and told the guy what to do, and with his music, and possibly a few bodily orifices at the same time. And he came at me with a tire iron, and I got clipped. But I waited 8 hours for the cops to show up yesterday, and they never did. So right now, they should be over at that dirtbag's house arresting his dumb ass. And if that actually happens, that's the first time I've ever had positive law enforcement action out of a thing that everyone knows should have gone to him. So we get him arrested. He gets thrown in the slammer, and he pays for the way he treats people in the neighborhood. Today we're going to be talking about a couple of the latest things, and we're going to be doing some inking demonstrations. Now, why are we doing inking demonstrations? It's because of you guys. If I try to paint something in oil, the so-called hits go way down. And when I do something really basic, like the kind of stuff a kid could understand, they go way up. So, and also, by the way, I've been getting a lot of letters in from you guys, which is very encouraging. That's all I've ever wanted. Is just for people to write in and give me feedback. And when I get that feedback, the more observant the letters are, the more I tend to like them, because they're pointing out things that they like, and they're pointing out things that to them was a little confusing or whatever. But a lot of guys are writing in about the Thune World book and saying, I'm confused as to why this happened and that happened. Why did Fred have to die? Well, you remember Dallas, right? Well, if you guys read the story carefully, I'm betting that you will find every question answered within the book itself, which is the way it should be. And now it's time for Swap of essence. So, another bonus for today, because we're so bonus driven here in the Rude Dude estate here. I thought I'd go into something about another subject you guys are really into, which is how to write. Well, I started writing about 7 years ago for the first time. When Baron and I had our differences of direction for the characters of Nexus, he very cordially and decently asked if he could do his own version. I said, of course, you know, he's essentially your character. I just do the damn thing. And then here comes the learning process for me. Baron's been writing forever. I've been writing for not forever. I've been writing for those 7 years or so. And so people are asking me about these 7 comics that I got out. And I refer to those 7 comics in other other broadcasts as the first ones that I picked to give me the exact clues about how to make my story the way it is, like the way these ones I read. Because these ones here that I'm going to show you are time tested over literal decades. Sometimes they go back as much as 40 years. So I'm going to show them to you now. If you promise to be good. Before we get into that, here's some of the stuff I've been working from. The great Anders Zorn, Swedish painter of the 1860s and 70s and 80s and 90s, and then into the next century. He's beyond belief. If you guys don't have this book, there are many books on him that'll show you why he's so great and why I think he's so great. Here are the books. Here are the several books that, in some kind of an order, I needed to break down and analyze as to why they were so good. This is the first one right here. I suppose you want me to turn it page by page, right? Well, just go out and get the thing. FF 75, Worlds Within Worlds. The second one, if you don't know about this, you've missed out in your entire career, but it's not too late. Steranko's Tower of Shadows #1. Oh, holy spit. This is the storytelling progenitor, I like that word, that started all this kind of different storytelling than the people from the Kirby age. And the Kirby age thought of the thing as a movie theater. The size of the theater didn't change, so why should the size of the panels change? Well, you know, we don't like just doing things the way we're told, so Steranko had this idea in his head that he probably got a lot of it from EC comics, which I never read. They were too disgusting. But to look in here, it's literally only an 8-page story. And you can see by the way he formats his panels, these really long, skinny ones, to show transitions. He's got that throughout the entire 8 pages. And all I can tell you is, when I got this book, I had the clouds lifted from my eyes once and all. This is unbelievable. And of course, Kirby stuff is coming up once again. Commandy #2. Now, Commandy lasted for 1 billion issues. Why am I picking this one here? I don't know. It's just got those elements. It's got those things that go on that you feel totally involved and gripped and invested in the story the whole time. And within all the hardships and blowing up theatrics that go on in this book, it's also got a great ending. What is the ending here? Even I forgot about it. So there he is. There's Commandy getting on the air balloon there, and he's going off to another adventure after the one he just got done doing. Incredible stuff. You remember all these covers, right? That Paul Glacy did for Master of Kung Fu. People always asked why he didn't contribute actual covers to the books, and for some reason Marvel got into this this thing of not using him as covers. They wanted to use Gil Kane or some other guy like that. But this is the kind of stuff he turned out. It's so heads and tails above anybody else at the time. You'd have to run back to another century to find the next runner-up. So there's that. These are just the covers, by the way, not the insides. Here's another one that's the inside right here. Can you get any better than that? If there is, no one's ever mentioned it to me, because I don't think they could. And don't forget your Louisville Slugger catcher's mitt from Johnny Bench. He was a catcher, because you're going to need that before you read these issues. Finally, now there is one that I'm forgetting here. Typical. It was another Master of Kung Fu book, but this comic, it's not a Marvel or a DC, is another example of making me feel that what I read was real. And there's a lot of incredibly good Magnus Robot Fighter comics. This one, however, outdid itself. And when you read the title, Alone Against Alpa, then you'll know what happened in this story to make it so dramatic. It still makes my blood boil up with excitement every time I go back and look at this. I just cannot believe the storytelling. This is another one that I'd like to go back to, particularly to reacquaint myself with great writing when I'm stuck on some stuff with what I'm writing. So I'm actually writing the third giant hardcover of Nexus. It's called Return to Earth, and it's going very well. It's going so well, I thought I would do, for the benefit of you guys, we'll get to the drawing, don't worry, How to Write a Story by Steve Rude, April 4th, 2025. You ready? I'm just going to read it, okay? So don't get bored. It's only this long, all right? Take your pills and relax. When faced with the daunting task of writing my own stories, I went about it logically. I grabbed 7 of my favorite comics, mostly Stan and Jack comics, and Jack's solo stories for DC. I had to analyze them for content. I needed to find out what made them so great. After that, following that, I got Gino to grab some TV scripts off the internet. These, of course, were mostly original Star Trek. It was really fun to read the dialogue just spelled out on the page. There was no camera directions or actor directions. It was just the lines themselves. And I learned that they are indeed very sparse. If they need to go less sparse, then they did that. It just has to be interesting material. So that was the state of things in my head back in God knows when, sometime in the 2000s. And the funny process is, you read these things and you pick up this and that, but to actually go beyond the memories of when you read these in a younger age and really have them stick in your head, even though I was analyzing them, was very elusive. So what am I going to do? I had to learn to dig deeper, and here's what I've learned about story. You with me? All right. First, and remember, I'm not some highbrow university type giving you 5 words when you could say 1, which is kind of what you do when you're writing in the first place. I give you the very simple, straight truth in as little words as possible. First, The story needs a reason for being told. Now, you're the author. What about it is so important about you having to write it? Well, let's just assume you do have one, because that's enough to ignite your imagination with the need to write this story. So this is where your imagination comes in. Envision something that would grip you, or something that might even scare you. Because when you think it's gone too far, you know what the editors always say, right? It's probably just far enough. Editors. So if it scares you, it'll do the same thing to the audience. And remember, every time I look things over on my scripts, the refinements are endless. They are always taking place. That's one of the questions I had when I was talking with Barron about how he wrote. There are always something interesting, something new. And then this is the incredible part. If it can tie into the main story somehow, without being obvious, you've got some great stuff. And that's where I am right now with my script for Return to Earth, the new Nexus story. All good stories have a main theme, which is then populated by smaller oddies to keep it from being too simple or a one-note idea. Here's my proof. You guys ever read Dr. Seuss? Ever read The Pale Green Pants with nothing inside them? What about Too Many Daves? We have plenty of Daves in Nexus. But what about the Sneetches? Those yellow big birds that everyone took to. What is it in the story about the Sneetches that every time I read them, I not only laugh hysterically because the drawings are so funny, but there are so many little ideas within the larger Sneetches story that make it very, very clever. And once again, the other great thing is that you see them when you see them. You see them when you're able to be of an age to perceive them and enjoy them. This is what makes good writing. And remember that, I've kind of touched on this, but remember that these smaller ideas should somehow fit the larger story. It's exactly like doing a puzzle, guys. So when starting out, write as much as you want about the character dialogue, over dialogue, get everything in your head out in the typewriter. And the point of that is you're probably going to have a lot of ways for them to talk or a scene that's going to come up in a certain way. Well, get those out of your head. This story can be 1,000 pages long, but nobody wants to read a 1,000-page comic. So I kind of whittle it down to 24 pages an issue. So what you do is when you go back the next day, you look at everything that you wrote, and you start to get sparser. Sparser and sparser. Just like doing a puzzle. I don't got to explain that. You guys are too smart for that. So get as many versions of what your characters might say or do in the story and pare it down. Now, in my case, every morning I get up and reread whatever I wrote the night before. Boy, am I in trouble here. Then I'll reread it dozens of times, again and again, because eventually everything I wrote should get me to the final version. You know how people talk about how much they hate writing? It's just a grind, and they have this morose, heavy thing they carry around. I never have that. I can't really tell you why. I can't tell you why. What an overrated band. But yeah, it's just get everything out. Okay, don't censor yourself. Just get it all out, because within, say, a page and a half of dialogue for one character, you're eventually, because you're really smart and you're being told how to write a story from the dude, you're gonna take those 3 pages and break it down into about 2 or 3 sentences at the most. Ideas. Where does the dude's ideas come from? Most of my ideas come from current headlines, from any possible news story ever reported. Now that's quite a lot of stories drawn, right? That makes the story ideas endless. Endless story here, do you hear me? When writing Nexus, I usually like to pick out some nasty serial killer or some pompous world leader who doesn't treat his people fairly. Well, who doesn't like revenge stories? I think that's the way, why society likes those books so much, because most of us feel like we're not even in control of our lives. And if you're not in control of your life, someone else is. And that someone may be a complete bozo, but you're forced to follow him anyway, or get arrested. So yeah, so I find some kind of a bad guy. I'm really bad at thinking up character designs, so I have to go to different sources to kind of pick and grab, and then I'll find a way to kill him. So generally, the more pain the bad guy causes, he should receive an equal amount of pain in the end, or more, if you're feeling particularly sadistic. Anyway, it's a great way to get your frustrations out. After that, you guys have seen my thumbnails, right? They're like this big on the top and this big on the side. After that comes, I have to do the thumbnails. And this is as important as every word I tried to finalize on the script. So when I finally have to draw these little thumbnails, this is where the essence of storytelling comes in. And they're so small you can't focus and figure drawing or get too finicky. But it's not supposed to be about finicky figure drawing. It's supposed to be about the flow of the page, where the characters are placed in the page, lighting, a huge battle going on between two guys. By the way, speaking of that, I actually omitted something here. This is one of the absolute pinnacles of achievement in writing and pictures. It was Stan and Kirby's Thor story, where he fought Hercules. It's a 3-issue thing. It goes on for 3 issues, and it is an example of everything noble about everything I've ever read and influenced me. It wasn't just Boy Scouts, no. It was comic books. So I get about 16 on the page, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, So now begins the process, the final process of melding your story and your storytelling to fit the main idea. If it doesn't have something to do with the main idea, disguise it really well so it does, okay? Otherwise, it's either for another story or it doesn't belong there. Just get rid of it. So this is why doing comics, for me, is unlike any other field. For me, it's absolutely the coolest and most challenging job I could ever have. And there's some examples of what influenced me. Yeah.
A question in about the writing.
Yeah.
A commenter named Jonas, he asks, how do you fill gaps in a story where you don't have ideas for yet?
Well, you better find those ideas to fill those gaps. It's not hard. If you feel like your story is lacking in fuller content, just that's what we do. We just imagine it. What would be really cool? What would you want to see in that little gap that would make you excited? Because anything that doesn't make you excited should be just. Anyway, this Thor story was just beyond belief. And there's another Master of Kung Fu book that I didn't bring up, where Paul Glacy just sprung into action like he evolved 11 years overnight. It happens to a lot of people that start out. It happened to me. Nexus #1, black and white, to Nexus color #1. Check it out for yourself. Chocolate soy, huh? 170 calories. Well, we're going to go for it. I think I like my sparkling drop of Schwuppa Essence better. Is it time to ink? Oh, I only brought this up because it's the latest thing I'm working on right now. You guys see that? Yes, you do. Okay. So I'll move it aside. The art of inking. Where are my pens? Where are my brushes? Let's see. I'm going to show you my pen nibs here. Some even don't have nibs on them. Ow. You bastard. This is a really, you know, if I forget what these things are, I just kind of go like this. And it's very clear in a little bit of time here what these are used for. Yeah, okay, that's a good one. And then on occasion I have these flat ones or things that are round in the end to give me lettering or something like that, bold lettering. What about this one here? Yeah, that one's fine. And this little puny one right here, I know that's a Hunt 104. So enough with the pitter patter here. Let's grab one of these pens here. Let's see what it would be. Nah, it's going to split too much. Yeah, we can try this one. This is one of the Japanese ones that's really good. Oh, that's another possibility. So I say, let's try them both. Now, if you look over here, the cameraman, Mr. Producer, is going to zoom in here, and you're going to see the two different types of inks that I use, okay? Now, I'll move out of the way. God, we have to move 20 pounds of camera equipment just to get a decent shot in here. And so, you see one labeled S. That's for skinny. F for fat. That's the really dense ink. I know a lot of people complain about how ink doesn't even go off the brush sometimes. Well, I'm well acquainted with that. And it drives me nuts as much as anyone else. I used to think that these vintage pen points were like the big thing, right? But they really, I think they're as fallible as anything out there. So here's the pencil drawing that I adapted from one of my animation things. I'm going to start nowhere in particular. A bump of the, I don't like it. Next. This is the Sakura inking pen right here. Too skinny. Out. Let's get into the good stuff here. I think this is the good stuff. This is a browse kind of a deal here. This one I can tolerate. Now, if you're comfortable with a brush, that's a preference that you will find eventually. Nicely and painfully foreshortened thumb. I always love the foreshortening. And we're going to bring it down to the fingers. The next is his gloves. The fingers come cut off right there. So he's just got his knuckles exposed there. And Knuckles is by the way, the friend at the zoo with Spickles. Who all seem to enjoy pickles. Nah, I don't like it. This one is guaranteed to work, isn't it? All right, this is a Hunt 108. We're going to get super flexibility from this one here, aren't we? I think I have to dip it in a little longer to get a longer stroke. That's a good one. That's not a good one. Ah, yes, and the old problem of it not working. What is the answer to these life's riddles here? I know not. And I suspect neither really does anyone. So I'm started to get into artist mode here. That's when I stopped talking to you guys. I bet you can hear that scratching all the way from here to Hoboken. I did it my way. So yeah, this is a very good nib right here. Now, the other thing that I'm going to warn you about is when a pen discharges this much ink, this ink is going to stay all the longer on the paper surface. This is another reason why a lot of people switch over to the brush at this point. The brushes don't cause this kind of a problem. They might cause other problems for which they will be duly punished. But as I work this right now, as I attempt to work out, I keep dipping it into the water to give me some flow going on. Ah, you bastard. These things are just I tell you, what a job this is. You can go back to herding cattle. So yeah, this is what you have to go through with pen nibs. Is it inevitable? Is death inevitable? I do that on my little sheet there to find that it's going to be not blobbing over on the surface here. Oh, look, it's actually working here. Anyway, this kind of reminds me of when I had an airbrush, and I had to sit down and clean it every 5 seconds. The airbrush was never for me. See, that's a line that got kind of bumpy because of the surface of the ink. Oh, let's go back up to the face. Hit the mute button when you hear this, because nobody wants to hear this. A little bit wet, but in the interest of moving along and not boring you guys, which I know is a perpetual problem in the world today, I'm going to go right into the face. This is where I normally use a pen, because I can simply control it better.
We got a comment from a commenter named Mike. He says, hello, all the way from, well, I might pronounce this wrong,
Nova Scotia, yeah. Hey, I've been waiting for Nova Scotia fans to pipe up for a millennium.
Love watching these streams. First time I've been able to catch you live. Awesome stuff.
That's what all the girls said. Well, good for Nova Scotia and Iceland, which I know we have at least one guy viewing in religiously. We should start a cult here. Every week. So he's got something to do other than freeze to death. You guys hanging in there with me? Good. There's so much more to come. Here's his lightning bolt, which is almost ready to be put on correctly. And this is the shoulder that interferes with the simple construction of the various parts of anatomy that you'll notice I'm trying to do this in a certain way, which is the downstroke is heavier, because it's approximating the idea that it's in shadow a little more than the light areas. And I've seen people do amazing things in charcoal with these contours, which of course I, the dude, am always in the front row raising his hand to find out more how to do it. How about some people from, I already said Tasmania. How about the West Indies? Is there even an East Windies? I've never heard of it. So if we got anyone from the West Indies, go west, young man.
We got another comment by a commenter named Bulk. He says, "This is great. I love listening to you talk. Would you talk about panel layout or composition of a comic page at some point?"
We shall indeed. But you know, this is what I mean, folks. The people that watch this channel, besides being highly intellectual, like to break things down to their simplest context by writing them with very simple questions. Which camera, Mr. Producer? Of course, I knew that. How do they go about learning this stuff? Well, reading comics is always the way it starts. I always got excited over my favorite artists and how they told the story and the way they drew. That was almost enough right there. I loved reading good stories, which are hard to come by nowadays. When I see the Marvel movies, things are happening out of nowhere, and I don't even know what the hell's going on. But in this comic, we definitely know what's going on. Plus those other 7 I was telling you about. Now it's time to get the brush out. Now, you may find this a bit of a shock, so if there's kids in the audience, watch out. You've been warned. But the best brushes today are not the Series 7's number 2 or 3 or 0 Winsor Newtons. No, they're actually the synthetic brushes. These brushes have more bounce and keep their tip better than the real thing. Now, why is there not more of the real thing? Because all the old timers are going to say, they don't make brushes like they used to. Well, I guess not, because that was a long time ago and this is now. But these nylon filaments that simulate real hair are remarkable. Thus, shall I reach into my my area here and pick out, okay, this is a synthetic right here. This one is a number 10, really. Let's try an 8. Even I'm not that brave. Say what? Okay, this one says 10 too, but it must be whittled down a little bit. So, go get a sandwich and I'll be right back. Done yet? Yeah, we're done yet. So for this, I'm gonna move skinny here and move into the fat one. This is the thicker. Actually, it's made out of acrylic. This stuff right here, and it's super opaque black, or noir. I'm gonna dip it in. My brush is a little wet, because I want to, I don't know, that's just what I do. Dip it in again, go through this ritual right here. You got your point just right. And now, oh, I should have saved some lines here. Oh, you bloody bastard. This happens when you're impatient. Now, far be it from me to be impatient. Okay, so we'll start down here. Sometimes If this is a size 10 brush, I will get out a size 12 or 14, not being of the sissy brush variety. And sometimes I do this kind of stuff right here. It's kind of like a Leyendecker thing, to give like motion to an otherwise dead black area. Where's the guy from, who did I say? The West Indies. Where's the guy from the West Indies writing in? Because I'm waiting. Here's some really serious stuff here, guys. So make of it what you will. But when I was at a recent show in Cottonwood, which is up north of Phoenix and a lot more bearable weather-wise, because it's getting hot, I walked into a tarot reading card place. Instead of some shapely swami of some persuasion, I got this skinny guy that had glasses and a funny hat on. I was ready to walk out, but I thought, until I've gone this far. Anyway, what this guy proceeded to do with the tarot cards. Now, you tarot card guys, you're aware of what these things are all about, right? They're supposed to tell your future. There's no crows involved. There's no fish involved. There's no hobgoblins involved. It's just very simple stuff. And the bottom line that I found out is that there will be no show. There is going to be no Nexus animated show. And how did I feel about that? Well, kind of a sense of relief. Because I've known all along that after 42 years, the fact that no one legitimate has ever approached me and wanted to be a part of this thing, well, how much do you think that tells me about the people out there? People in the business, people that have known about this for the last 40 years, and nobody writes in. So I got really sad. A couple days later, I picked myself up. See, lines like that, you can do anything with a brush. You can do this kind of stuff, or if I can get it thin enough. There you go. That's why there's a lot of guys that are kind of brush connoisseurs. I have inked entire books in just a brush, but eventually I found myself going back to pen points. Anyway, this is how you fill in the blacks. Everyone knows about that. So there ain't no reason to go into it anymore. Oh, I keep screwing up here. Keep fattening up that area. These kind of lines, ink on the outside of the pencil line, because when black comes in, it's going to close it up a little more. Yeah. This is why we invented whiteout. Also, I've been getting, if you want a diagnosis of how my mental health is going, I'm getting dizzy a lot these days. Aside from, typical things like I forgot what I had for breakfast, I forgot this rock star's name, there's this all too commonality about forgetting things that I should not forget. I call that pathetic. And who's got time for that crap? Not me, not you. I remember reading or visiting a great illustrator named John Berkey. Everyone knows him, so I don't have to explain him. Anyone who doesn't, just go to the usual stuff to find out what he's all about. I'm here to tell you what a wonderful person he was. He was just the most cordial, decent, soft-spoken, just like me, of course, guy I've ever met. He was an incredible resource to me, an incredible guy that offered the best kind of friendship to me. I mean, let's face it, people want friends, right? Here I go with those Leyendecker things again. Sometimes I'll just get rid of those altogether. I'll look at it and say, well, it's not a very well done, so I'm just going to give it up. But for demonstration purposes, you'll see this in a lot of my work in Nexus. So there's a lot of black areas in Nexus. Of which you were seeing me fill in. Now this is why I hesitate to even do these demos. I mean, who can possibly stay excited watching ink dry? Hey, you guys asked for it. I would be rather over there doing painting, either oil paint or watercolor, I think, because those are the things that challenge me. And you really don't have time to worry about if you got 10 billion hits versus 10 hits. All right. So remember I was telling you about that headline thing? Well, I started to follow the Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell story with great interest. That was after the John Bonet one, and I think the old man's guilty. Okay, so you want to get rid of that. Or the kid, Burke. People, I tell you. You can't even trust your own dad. I've been working on my hands, because you can never get too good at them. What I'm trying to work, when I work on hands, I'm trying to think, memorize all the basic big things, and then the basic small things. The way I've been trying to learn this my whole life, but have failed utterly. So this, the benefit of this ink right here, this dark ink, is that it's acrylic, so it goes on very, very dense. These guys that always talk about the Pelican and all that kind of crap, I couldn't give a damn about that stuff. That's just wimpy, weak ink, if you ask me, where all the brush strokes show when it's reprinted in the comic. God knows the original art. I don't like those things showing. It makes me feel sloppy. And sloppy, at Dude Headquarters, we are not. We haven't heard, Mr. Producer, anything from the West Indies, have we? What a disappointment. I so wish, what?
We got a question from a commenter named Daniel, and he was asking if art is way more important than the story. And his examples were, your art can sell any story. That's why guys like you did the covers. He said, we had a second to pick out books back in the day.
Back in the day? Whoa. What's his day? It's probably different from mine. Is that the question?
Yeah, he was asking if art was way more important than the story.
Here's a simple way to answer that. Because I never went to college, and therefore my brain is much more active and can spell it out much more simply. If you've got good art and a bad story, you've got good art and a bad story. If you combine the two, then you've got a triple punch. You've got, or a double, the story and the art. That's what Jack Kirby and Stan Lee did in the early 60s. And Kirby did that on his own, started in 1970 at DC Comics. So, I'm tempted to say, does that make sense? But every other knucklehead in the world says that, so that's exactly why I don't say it. But that should just give it to you right there. It's your preference what you buy for the love of God and apple pie and America. Look at all those errant marks. So I'll try to slip in a couple bolded up things right there. But yeah, this is pure fun, guys. So with a brush, you can get any thickness imaginable. With a pen, you can have better control. If you ask me, other inkers would say I have less control. But that's why we're not all the same. And you can always go in and, you know, that kind of stuff. Or if you want to plus an outline somewhere, you can go in there and do it. Flowhard, what are you doing? Those are a little too thick. I need to get these a little thinner here. You know, this feathering's kind of stuff. Assuming you even want it. So if the brush isn't cooperating with you, get a new one. So we got to check it out now. The way I check out things is either to go to my Xerox machine and reverse Xerox it, or just grab some really clever whiteout here. So fat and skinny get moved to the side, totally to the side. And we're off to the races with our whiteout. Casualties of the business, my friends. Well, that's why I have these two water bowls that's hanging out. To do just such an occurrence when needed. Something like, I always keep my feathers numbered for just such an emergency. Whiteout to the rescue. Some people have electric erasers. I have white stuff. This is, I think this is something like acrylic wash because it's not full gouache. Oh, before I do that, I've got to erase the pencils. I get done drying everything. There's still always a little spot that's still wet. And guess how that happens, and guess what it does to my life. Dare we try it? Dare we shall? Start out in a little bit here. Is that gonna smear? Because I am the expert at smearing. I got a degree in that. And wave it proudly. Actually, it makes me sick. Now the face stuff, this is where it always goes wrong. No matter how much I let the face dry, there's always some damn thing in the face. The most important thing of all, to screw up. But this is how it works, guys. I'm glad they have this ink nowadays that can really hang in there and be really dense. I should probably use a pink eraser, but I stupidly don't have one at the moment right here and within reach. I used to have old girlfriends back in Madison erase the pencil lines. And one wise guy chimed in and said, is that before he got done inking or after he got done inking? You have to think about that one. I sure did. Shove your low battery. All right. I believe we're at the point now where I can demonstrate with some alacrity exactly how this works right here. Except for this one over here. It's just too stubborn. It's not going to come off. But it does with this one. Ha! You know, these things are the ones that really grind in. Did I tell you how long it took the cops to arrive yesterday after that altercation where I attempted to kick his butt? They say they arrived late at night, and that was from noon on. Really? So we're going to come over here, grab a skinny kind of brush, like say this Lower Cornell, which they don't make anymore. God bless them, the bastards. And we're going to dip it in the water, and we're going to swish it. All you're doing here is just getting the ink, the white ink consistent. So it comes out like that. And at some point you just rub it up against here, hopefully with enough white out to contain. Oh, this looks awful here. So here's why I have to really be careful, because this is really going to be what the final art is going to look like. Whiteout to me is nothing more than using white in a painting. There's no such thing as painting something without white. It is the most often color used, no matter what they tell you. So don't listen to what they tell you. This is an errant dumb stroke right here. This stuff is a little too thick right now, so I'm going to water it down with my little spray deal here. And I'm going to use the bottom of this to go like this. Boy, I'm starting to miss that sparkling drop of effervescence around now. I'll be quite ready now. Jeez. Some people, dumb people, say, it's not the tool, it's the artist. To me, it is the tool. Because tools are tools. I admit plenty of them. All right. Kind of cool news. Interesting that only one person, that would be me. I've got in contact with a classic illustrator, and I'm exchanging a lot of stuff with him. This guy is actually one of the polite ones. He actually will get back to you, which is almost unheard of in this world today. Oh, I can do my little line like this if I want. If I don't like them, this will flatten the brush out to get skinny ones. And in fact, where the glove is, there should be stuff coming off here. You'll always know when an artist is not paying attention anymore to your questions when he goes, I've seen it happen to the best of them. So now, since I'm right-handed, I'm putting my palm in this yucky stuff here. I tell you, there just isn't any fairness in life. I'm going to make this longer and thicker. Kind of like Walter Spickles. Walter Sickert is supposed to be, according to, what's her name? Jack the Ripper. Patricia Cornwell. Oh, my memory's not so bad after all. And she's, when the news just came out recently that some guy confirmed 100% that this was Jack the Spickle, the Ripper, she said, don't believe it. I've gone through too many DNA tests to believe what he's saying. And unfortunately, that kind of describes the attitude that I have about most experts. I mean, how many times do experts come in later and saying, well, you need more of what I said you don't need. Oh, this Flowhard. She's doing the old toenail thing. So this is what you go through if you want to show off to your friends and make friends and get the Carnegie Hall. So, okay, this needs to be a better contour. The fingers don't look too bad. I'm going to straighten that out a little bit. That's a nice rhythmic thing I think I can work with. And we'll straighten out some of these bad lines that came from the pen. That bloody accursed pen. I told kids don't know how to do cursive writing anymore. This is under the category of, what the hell are you thinking? Which I see a lot of in today's world. Did you hear that, people? I tell you, it's just the sickest world. Little Keed, my little girl who just turned 22, is a victim of the school system that we know best, school system, and all the PC rubbish that goes with them. And when parents speak up to tell them how full of shit they are, they call the sheriff in, and sheriff, being the dutiful, law-abiding guy that he is, arrests them. It could be grandmothers in wheelchairs. If they don't like it, they're going to shut you off. Now, this is also why you you use white paper. This is kind of an off-white. They call it natural white. All that means is that it's not very white. See, folks, this is a channel here where we just give it to you straight. There's no nonsense, no excuses. No posturizing. Is that a word? Yeah, of course it is. I just said it. So let's see. Now, the final test, which I hate the most, is the mirror test. This shows me where I'm not completed with the whiteout or the inking sometimes, and I have to redraw and re-ink. So let's see how bad this is right here. Well, it's tolerable. I mean, I can tolerate it. I'll fix that in a little bit. Other than that, not horrifically bad. Just going to cleave in a few of the some of the arm rhythms here. See, I can talk and explain it and draw at the same time. I think I should get paid for that. Little dip it in. See, remember I have two little things here with the water, one for white in comics, and one for black. Imagine that. Such genius at work. All right, this is going to be the quiet minute here. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to look scrupulously at what I did wrong. What did I do wrong? Okay. I kind of like these lines right here. They're a little thick, but a lot of artists are thick. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum. I just thought about the little engine that could. See, when I say weird things like that, something always comes up, and it's like, what about the little engine that could? What about the pale green pants? They end up making friends at the end, but you know how friends are. They come and go. Maybe the pants hooked up with a female pair of pants. I don't know. I have a visitor coming over after this. This will be fun. Female, Maggie. She works out at the gym. And I'm trying to help her get some stuff down. All right. Pick on someone your own size, Jack. Oh, these right here, these aren't straight. These are things you'll want to really think about. Those are good lines. I don't like these lines up here. So we shall get rid of them. Where was I? I was talking about world events. Was I not? All right, now it really is time for that sparkling drop of effervescence. Now the difference between this stuff and the typical Dr. Martin's whiteout is considerable. This stuff you can actually ink over the top. Gouache, which is the Dr. Martin stuff, really gives you a hard time with going over ink on water-soluble paint. So once again, the Japanese have it together. This is a deleter white number 2. You notice how clearly I said that? That's because most people, when they're giving you stuff on YouTube, it's and you're supposed to get that. Follow me to the sink as we complete the journey here. We are going all the way over here. Moving these retarded cameras out of the way. Remember, this is a 20 camera operation here. And we do something very important. We clean our hands. See this, people? You know, back in the 1880s in London, the doctors never washed their hands. And so everyone got sick and died. One man decided to try using soap. And people died much less. It reminds me of that line from Captain Kirk in Spock. One man cannot change the future, Captain. No, Spock. But one man can change the present. Do we have any Schweppa-essence in here? No. Oh, that so figures. Okay, we're going back to the drawing board. There's a couple things I don't like. Imagine that. Sometimes I take one of these pens right here. You guys all know the types. Everyone uses them. They finally get to the point where they can do really dark black and these very skinny things. Where's that mirror again? The Mirror Man. The Mirror Man. All right, if you insist. The West Indies, still waiting. This is a huge letdown for the dude. And for Christ's sakes, let's get some girls writing in here. Why am I always burdened with this total male populace of enthusiasts? Nobody's ever bothered explaining it to me.
We got a comment in from Mike, the one from Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Steve, would you ever consider doing an adaptation of a classic novel like Bernie Wrightson did with Frankenstein?
Bernie Wrightson, yeah. Well, first off, Bernie was a very nice guy. Everyone liked him. He was, you know, as macabre as he was, I always saw him as a normal guy, probably because he could get that macabre out of himself. The dude here is Mr. Clean, so I don't tend to go in those areas, but he was very considerate, Bernie Wrightson, and very nice. And would I consider adapting a novel? Well, that might be hard because I've never read novels. I read Ricky Tikki Tavi when I was a little kid, and anything else that I read had to have pictures along with it. That would mean pictures and writing. Now what would that be? I think it starts with a C.
We got another comment, and it says, "Have you heard Robert E. McGinnis died? Such a masterful painter."
I think somebody did tell me that McGinnis died. I don't know what to make about death and all that kind of stuff. You know, everyone has to face it, so they tell us. What kills me about death is 1 minute they're totally rejuvenated and or is that juvenated? Because they're juveniles. Or they get worse with time. I think that's a real fair thing. Thanks, God. I think we should start off bold, energetic, and ready to take on the world, and then just die, a husk of what we were. Who made that up there? Who made up that rule anyway? They can stick it. Okay, one last time. Okay, I see what to do. This is a pretty skinny little thing here, but I think I can try it.
We're also over the hour mark.
Where are we?
We're an hour and 10 minutes.
Are you kidding? Did you hear that? Mr. Producer says, I got carried away and am a half hour over what I'm supposed to be here doing in my allotted time. Well, sounds good to me. Anyway, so this is how I ink. This is how I do all that stuff. I think it turned out sort of okay. A lot of times, if you're not as lazy as I am, you can just take your brush back and swoosh in these areas a lot quicker. It all depends on the day of the week and what color you should be wearing according to your horoscope. That's it for this day's live stream from the Dude Central. And the time and date is, oh yeah, I love this. Okay, so it's April 5th, 2025. Now you know, we'll see you next time and the next week in 2005.
Would you be able to show a little snippet of the books we just got in?
I've been recalled here before I could go and drink my root beer. This is The Artistry of Rude. This just came out. I happen to think it's pretty classy. It's thick, as you can tell. How many billions of pages is in here? 170 pages. Boy, that's really something. And there's all this cool stuff in here, which I'm going to have a real hard time turning the pages here. These are all things from the live stream, God bless me. And they're here for the first time in print. You no longer have to turn on your TV. There's Sandra Peel again. Beautiful sunny honey. And here she is in the back too. Looks like she's about 16 here. Oh, and then there's all the covers that I did. Pencil, and then the final versions of the various paints used over these pieces here. So this is how I work. I used to pencil really tight, but I got kind of sick of that, and it turned out to be not that fun. Oh, this was a great, wonderful piece that I love doing. It only took me 20 hair pulling hours to fill all these damn people and get them all drawn right, and I still didn't get half of it. But that's the way it goes in the comic book business, folks.
And we have the Alice cover.
Yeah, we have the Alice cover. So this is another one of the covers for a Thune World book, a series of 5 books that we put out. Oh, there's Alice hitting the bottle. And, you know, because everyone wants to be thoughtless and go along with this variant cover idea, we have this. Identical in every way, except we have a great picture of the dude in the back here. You see that? This cover right here, I think is kind of a success. The older Alice cover that I did, calling Falling Up, I like it better. It's more simple and all that stuff, but we endeavor to try. A lot of good stuff in here. Which you don't have to take my word for it, but it is there. If you order it, we can get groceries for another month, depending on who sends in their stuff. Okay? It's back to my sparkling drop of Schwepperwessens. Hasta luego.